Hello, I'm Bill Golden, also known as Bill for Dogcatcher at billfordogcatcher.com, and each week I try to cover, meet a guest where we can get them to go beyond some talking points and talk about things that really influence Prince William County, Virginia, and even our region, because, you know, if you're Prince William County, you are the heart of the Northern Virginia region, at least in my neighborhood. So today I want to say thank you to Jim Riley for coming to visit us. Now, you've been active for quite a while in politics, public policy issues. Certainly you have an opinion. You have your own blog. You write for at least one local newspaper. I think I saw you in a new local newspaper. Did you do a piece for Potomac News this past week?
Yes, for the Prince William Today, of course, is what it's called now. It's also the Inside Nova website. I've been writing for them since the beginning of the year. Last year, I had covered the Republican National Convention for Potomac Local. So,
you actually went to the convention?
I was at the convention. I was actually down there for work, and I was able to, in my spare time, at about 3 o'clock in the morning, get some columns out and help keep the people apprised here in the county about what was going on from the perspective of one individual attending the National Party Convention.
Well, let me ask you. So. Rarely do we ever meet anyone actually born in Prince William. I'm not. I'm actually from Southern Virginia, in the Norfolk area, Chesapeake area. In fact, it's hard to even meet Virginians in Northern Virginia. What is your background? Where do you come from?
Well, I'm originally from upstate New York, from the Albany, New York area. And I'm born and raised there, family there. And from there I went to college in Massachusetts. At that point, after I graduated, I came down to D.C. for law school, got my first taste of Virginia at that point. And in fact, a friend of mine that I had met during college Republican days, he had said to me, this is back in 1991, he said, come on down, help me do a lit drop for a candidate that's running in Virginia for the House of Delegates. And I said, okay, you know, this is somebody that I trusted and everything, and said, okay, if it's somebody that you're backing, it's somebody that I'd probably be interested in. So I went and met the candidate and helped my friend do this lit drop, and then the candidate and his wife had us over to dinner afterwards, and just really, really nice, down-to-earth people. And so, you know, Election Day '91 came and went, and checked the paper the next day, and I saw that he won. Well, needless to say, he's still in office here. It was Bob Marshall. So,
oh, okay.
And so that was just kind of complete happenstance, and about 10 years later is when I actually moved to the county with my wife. We had just gotten married in 2001. I had been living in Alexandria, and we had been looking for homes, and we found a great neighborhood that was being built at the time here in the county. We had looked all over the place, Fairfax, even as far down as Spotsylvania. So we were really kind of, you know, open as far as where we were going to go. I was working in Arlington at the time, and I figured so long as I had access to VRE, which was my plan all along, that would work for me. So we found this great neighborhood there in eastern Prince William County, and we've been living there ever since.
Okay, well, Prince William is a great place. I ended up here in '96 myself after retiring from the Army, and I loved it. Both of my kids were very young at the time. They've gone all the way through the school systems. So I have a lot of experience with the school systems, and that is a hot topic in the county today. Whether it's $12 or $14 million swimming pools, or whether we have high schools that aren't needed, or what drives the budget. Now, there is a lot of talk about high schools, or schools in particular, because Prince William has a unique budgeting arrangement to where we literally give almost exactly 56% of every tax dollar collected to the schools. What are your thoughts about schools and taxes and where we're going? Can we afford to keep it at a fixed amount each year?
Well, first of all, let me just say my wife's a kindergarten teacher here in the school system, so I kind of get a good view as far as what's going on through her. I'm probably one of the first people to know if schools are getting to be overcrowded, or we have some of these ridiculous things where kids are having lunch at 10 o'clock in the morning.
Right.
That's not lunch, that's brunch. So in that sense, I think I have a good feel as far as what's going on. In terms of the question you have about the percentage and whether it should be a fixed percentage, that just doesn't make sense to me. I think that we need to be more open-minded about that. We need to look at the actual needs that the school system has. We have to make sure that those dollars are getting into the classrooms, that teachers like my wife have proper student ratios, so that way they can instruct the children can actually learn, and they're not just being warehoused in these schools. So I think that what we should do is reevaluate whether it even makes sense to have this agreement, whether it makes sense to just increase it and provide some additional oversight by the county board. But I don't think that we can go on with the status quo as it is.
Now, on the County Board of Supervisors, I know this is somewhat of a contentious issue because it appears the County Board of Supervisors really rather not discuss the topic. Supervisor Pete Canlin earlier this week announced that he would support increasing funds to the schools, but the only way to do that is either really to raise taxes or to reevaluate how we tax. Have you given any thought as to maybe a different approach to how we actually even come up with a scheme for taxes?
Well, I think that regarding the schools and the funding there itself, I'd have to agree with Supervisor Canlin that we do need to have more money going into there. In terms of how we raise that money, I think that there's two issues to be considered. First of all, we have to make sure that the money that is being raised is being spent properly. And after that is done, then any additional needs that are out there, we have to make sure that we can have the money raised for that. Part of that goes to the whole discussion about what the proper ratio is for businesses to homeowners in terms of bearing the tax burden.
And we have a major issue there because we're not growing businesses
No.
in Prince William County. We're not growing small business. We're not growing any kind of business, really. And even land that was set aside in zoning to grow business, we're turning that over to build more houses.
Exactly.
And my understanding is there's a break-even point. If a house does not have a market value, a dwelling does not have a market value of approximately $400,000, it actually costs the other taxpayers about $900 extra per year.
Correct. I think one of the most interesting things that I heard recently, I was at the Prince William County Republican Convention a few weeks ago, and Chairman Stewart got up there and talked about how we've been expanding the businesses here in the county, and that business now makes up 20% of the tax revenue coming into the county. About a month or two ago, when there was all the talk about sequestration and the lead up to it, Sharon Bulliver, the chairwoman of the Fairfax County Board of Supervisors, was lamenting that their business tax ratio was only 35%. So if we're 15% lower than what Fairfax is, and Fairfax is concerned that they're only at 35%, we have a real problem. We need to do what we can to make that a much more equitable balance between the two. And I think that's interesting what you brought up in terms of the land that is zoned for commercial being rezoned for residential. I don't have a problem doing that so long as it makes sense from a standpoint of that this should be where residential places are. But at the same time, we should take some residential areas that are out there that are zoned that way and rezone them for commercial. We can't just keep rezoning everything for residential. There should be some kind of trade-off between the two just in order to try to fine-tune things. I understand that there's a need for places to live for people. I mean, like I said, I moved here myself in 2001, and at the time that there were some issues about the remainder of our community's property in terms of how that was going to be zoned, and so I do understand that. I believe that there is a proper place for residential, but we have to make sure that we're not doing it at the expense of the commercial development.
Now, in the county, because in many ways, when we say commercial development, we really have no commercial development in Prince William. We have retail.
Yes.
We have increased. In fact, we've even seen a boom in personal gyms and workout, but we really do not see businesses coming. And when you look at the weekly take-home paycheck of the average person living in Prince William, we're really building, strangely enough, we're really building homes for people in Stafford County to have a cheaper place to live while they're working and making a higher paycheck in Stafford, which most of us would have thought is more rural just a couple years ago. In Prince William, when it comes to average paychecks take home, we have trouble keeping up with Fauquier. Yes. And I can't really think of a lot going on in Fauquier where we need to be competing. So I'm not sure that the county has, I know we have a strategic plan, but I'm not sure how strategic it is. And so as we go forward, jobs are going to be an issue because ultimately we're a bedroom community. Now, some people would like to see more jobs created through a metro, but now you had some thoughts on earlier this week where you discussed a metro. Some people believe it's an overnight fix.
Right, and it's interesting because, as I said, I've been riding the Virginia Railway Express for the past 12 years now. And, you know, I look out the window as we leave Springfield and come on down through Woodbridge and down towards Quantico. And when I first began riding, I look at it and say, oh, well, you know, they could just extend the metro track here and, you know, maybe do a elevated here and have it go over. And then I really started to think about it and get more into the details. And well, first of all, in terms of it being overnight, you're exactly right. There's no overnight fix for this. By the time you get through all the land acquisition, well, first of all, you have to go through all the various environmental studies and just feasibility studies. After you've gone through that and you've done the land acquisition and you've done permitting and you've dealt with all the lawsuits, there's no way that they could even break ground, much less get metro here before the year 2030. So if somebody's looking to go out for a night on the town in DC and expect to be able to come back on metro, make your plans for 17 years from now, because it's not going to be happening anytime sooner than that. And the same thing with businesses. If they think that metro they can just lay track down here and then build a bridge to cross the Occoquan and come on right over here, it's not going to happen that fast. We have to do what we can here in this county on our own in order to try and attract those businesses.
Yeah, and I think there are quite a few community activists that would like to say, you know, we keep pouring money into roads and more transportation, but all we're really doing is making it easier for people to leave the county and go to work each day somewhere else, but why not have jobs here? So I'm not quite sure how we would encourage jobs or businesses to come here. Interesting topic.
I think part of it is, you know, we have tax and regulatory burdens here in the county that are hindering jobs. I think it's about 2 years ago now, I was at a County Board of Supervisors meeting, and one of the commercial developers, Mike Garcia, was speaking during Citizen Time, and he mentioned that it was so difficult to get businesses to come to the county because so many of them have various build-out requirements for their office space. And if they wanted a sprinkler head moved in an office space, in order to get a permit to do that, he said it cost $500 per sprinkler head, and that didn't even count actually moving the sprinkler head.
That obviously adds up to money really quick.
That does, and the other aspect, and you mentioned Stafford before, and how a lot of people are going to work there. Stafford doesn't have a B poll tax, the business, professional, and occupational license tax. That tax was put in place to fund the War of 1812. We won it 200 years ago.
Don't tell people that too much. We may need those tax dollars.
Well, I think what we can do, though, is I think that if we did some kind of tax reform here in the county, where we looked at what the average tax bill was, when you're looking at both your property taxes, your personal property tax or your car tax, when you're looking at the special assessments for fire and rescue, you know, you pull out your phone bills and you'll see things on your phone and cable bills for
unidentified fees all the time.
Exactly, but I mean there'll be things where you can see it's for the county. Let's make everything transparent. I think the most fair and equitable thing to do is to bundle it all together, just like you can get your phone, your internet, and your cell phone, and your TV all bundled together nowadays. Have one tax bill where everybody knows exactly how much they're paying. You know, we can do it using the property tax. Even renters pay property tax indirectly by paying their rent to the property owner. So I think that that's something that we should look at. I don't think there's any reason why we can't make things simpler, easier. And I think just from a budgetary standpoint, it would allow the county to better budget moving forward because they would know exactly how much they're going to be getting in revenue, or at least a better idea of how much they're getting in revenue than they have now.
And some people believe that the county is sandbagging that revenue too by building in surpluses, and there are surpluses upon surpluses, and then at the end of the year they declare there's a surplus, but since that wasn't budgeted, they just carry that money over for other
Correct.
things.
Right.
So a lot of tax issues here. Flat taxes, that's been probably for every person that's discussed flat taxes, there's been a different definition. You know, what's your thoughts on flat taxes? First off, since there is really no common definition, what are your thoughts generally on taxes with the county, and maybe what thoughts might you have on flat taxes?
Well, I think first of all, in terms of the flat tax, my definition of it would be that the amount of money that you're paying this year will be the same amount of money that you're paying next year. And because of variations in home values, you've got to change the actual tax rate in order to kind of get to that average. Right now, the county board has advertised a tax rate of $1.19.6 for fiscal year 2014. In order to reach a flat tax rate for homeowners, it would have to be $1.15.4. So that's just kind of my definition of what a flat tax is. In terms of whether that's a good thing, I think it is a good thing. As you already referenced, we've had surpluses over the past several years here. If you look at fiscal years 2007 through 2012, the average county surplus has been $30 million plus. A
very predictable amount, strangely.
Exactly. Although I would say, I believe it was 2007 or 2008, the surplus was about $42 million. On the low end, fiscal year 2012, it was a little bit over 18. I think it was about 18.6 million. So still, when you look at all the critical unmet needs here in the county, whether it be fire and rescue, police, schools, you total all those up, and I know that both Supervisors Jenkins and Principe have submitted proposals detailing the critical unmet needs in the county. You're not too far off from that $18.6 million level to fund all these things, and why we continue to do things like pay for museums and pay for equestrian centers and other types of things that are not core services when kids are in overcrowded classrooms, when kids are having lunch at 10 o'clock in the morning, when we have understaffed fire departments, and when we need more police in certain areas. You know, I just think it's inexcusable that we're spending money on things that, you know, are a much lower priority than those things that people rely upon when they're looking for a place to live or locate a business.
Well, let me ask you, so let's switch gears here a little. Right after the election, after an appropriate amount of time and reflection, you wrote a piece that says, essentially, if the GOP wants to win in the future, they need to think a little bit different, that if they think the current game plan going forward is going to be work, and that plan is what they've been doing, that would seem to mark you as a slightly different Republican, a Republican of the people, maybe. How do you define yourself as a Republican, really?
Well, I think a lot of it goes back to some of my formative experiences. When I was in law school down here, I did an internship back in 1993, 1994. It was at a place called Empower America. And so I was working pretty closely at that point, seeing on a regular basis Jack Kemp, Bill Bennett, Gene Kirkpatrick, and
very positive influences within the GOP.
Exactly. I mean, you would go in there and you could not help but smile, because these people, they believed in ideas. They were not about, oh, well, what is this consultant telling me to say? You know, what's the latest polling on this? You know, they have their core beliefs, And those core beliefs are, how do we help, as the name of the organization entailed, how do we help empower America? How do we get people out there where they have the resources that,
a true opportunity society.
Exactly. And so it was just such an incredibly positive experience. I was actually lined up to be the Deputy General Counsel for Jack Kemp's presidential campaign in 1996. Unfortunately, he decided not to run. But in the end, I wound up working for another person that was affiliated with the organization, who was Steve Forbes. And he was the chairman of Empower America, chairman of the board of Empower America. And it was just another great positive experience. I really, having learned tax and fiscal issues from both Steve Forbes and Jack Kemp, I just can't, begin to describe what an incredible experience that was to have that. Ironically enough, for that 1 year while I was there as an intern, I got to know the other people that were my age that were there and everything. One person I was working with actually was someone who I met while I was in high school. Before we came on camera here, we were talking about this experience I had with having won a scholarship in high school and having come down to Williamsburg and met with some other people. And so there was a woman from New Mexico who had won the same scholarship and who I'd met down in Williamsburg. And we hadn't seen or talked to each other since. And I think it was about a month after I started working there that we realized that we had met one another before. But the person on the other side of the cubicle divider from us was someone that's probably more of a household name, and that's Paul Ryan.
I think I've heard of him. Has something to do with the budget and the House Committee.
Exactly. Right. So it really was an incredible place to be working, and I'm still in touch with a number of the people from there today. So that's kind of like what helped form me in terms of who I am, and I guess why, in some ways, I'm kind of a policy wonk even here at the county level, in that I'm just interested in finding solutions. I don't care where it comes from. If it's a good idea, and after having studied it and thought about it and looked at it from different angles, it looks like it's something that could work, why not try it? I don't care where the idea comes from or who that we can get to support it. But I think that that's the way that Republicans need to go, is to be a party that offers solutions to people's real problems. You have to look at take-home pay. I think that there's a number of positive healthcare reforms that Republicans have out there as well that will actually lower costs. So I think that if the party can concentrate on delivering solutions to problems and relating to people and in their everyday issues, that's how I think that they can win elections.
Okay. Well, let me ask you before we close, is there one issue that maybe we haven't discussed today that you would really like to talk about? Or you want people to identify it as being, this is Jim Riley, and I should look him up and have a talk about this?
I think that just kind of the launching point there on the economic development side of things, that is something that I've been very passionate about, simply because I think that that is the way that we can improve our county, make it the place that I know that it can be. I like to look back 20 years ago, even before you moved here, and I was in law school watching the news about the developments, the exciting news back in the early 90s that Disney was coming to Prince William County.
Right, I remember that. I didn't live here at the time, but I remember.
And just watching that whole process unfold and everything, and then the disappointment that many people had when they pulled out here. Again, they recently purchased property up at National Harbor in Maryland in Prince George's County to build a hotel. Well, last December they announced, we're selling, it was either last December or the year before that, that they were pulling out of the project there and that they were not going to be building the hotel there. I wouldn't mind seeing them take a second look at Virginia, whether it's for the park, not necessarily here in Prince William, because we built Dominion Valley where they're going to build Disney's America. And in fact, I would argue that, again, when you're looking at the cost of homes and everything, while those homes, for the most part, do support themselves in terms of the tax revenue paid to the county and the services that they consume, think about if Disney were here, creating jobs, bringing in tourists, having built the infrastructure that they needed for that would then also benefit the county. in my neck of the woods, there's a development that's going up called Potomac Shores. And they have a Jack Nicklaus signature golf course that's going to be opening up later this summer. They've made a bid for the FBI headquarters in their secure corporate campus there. So there's a lot of interesting things going there. One of the things that they're putting in is a world-class hotel and conference center. It's being built by a company that has built five-star resorts all over the world, and as I understand it, they do not yet have the company that's going to actually slap its name on the hotel and then proceed to manage it.
But they've got the campus kind of thought out and planned out.
Oh, exactly. I mean, they model homes are going to be opening up in the next 2 months there at Potomac Shores. So, but they have the architectural plans for the town center. I've seen some renderings; they're just fantastic. You know, I say we make a pitch to Disney, see if they want to operate this hotel. I mean, they've expressed interest.
We got our beautiful river right here.
Exactly, they've expressed interest in this region twice already, once in the county already. I say let's open up our arms, say, hey, take a look at this. Tourists that come to D.C., they can hop on the Virginia Railway Express right there, go right into D.C. There's been talk about having water taxis from Occoquan and other places go up to Alexandria and into D.C. Imagine Disney having their own water taxis that could depart from the Cherry Hill Peninsula there, go up right by Mount Vernon. You know, it's an incredibly historical experience. I think
and while we're on that, I would like to see a water taxi from Prince William go to the Maryland shore with a rental car company on the other side, so we could get to Ocean City quicker without having to go over that bridge.
Well, you know, it's interesting. The community that I live in is called Southbridge. And there's a misconception. Some people think that it's because it's just south of Woodbridge. It's actually called Southbridge, and the logo for the community is a bridge, because that was one of the locations where there was supposed to be a river crossing. And that was supposed to be the South Bridge for the Metro D.C. area to go to Maryland over towards LaPlata.
It would be nice.
So obviously that's not going to be happening now because of all the development that's occurred since then, and Maryland's seeming reluctance to have any more river crossings that would help bring in additional revenue and tourists to their state.
But Maryland does have an issue in that they own the waterway.
Yes.
Virginia only owns the shore.
Correct.
Maryland owns all the waterways, so it would kind of fall to Maryland to convince people to chip in lots of money. I mean, the Wilson Bridge, just to redo, that was just over $3 billion.
Exactly.
So, but it would be nice to have a bridge or something there.
It certainly would be, and I definitely take your point there about a water taxi of some sort, and unfortunately, like you said, you need to have some kind of mode of transportation after you get there in order to get around to where you want to go.
Okay. Well, I want to thank you for coming today, and I think that we can probably find a lot more issues or topics in the future, and you're always welcome.
Great.
Just call me up and say, hey, Bill, you know, how about letting me drop by and let's talk about this.
Okay, great.
So thank you.
It's been fun, Bill. Great.
This is Bill Golden with PwC Politics, and some of you also know me as BillForDogCatcher.com, saying thank you very much. And you know, if you want to come on and talk about any topic, and I don't care if you're Democrat, Republican, Independent, I love libertarians, at least not the crazy ones. You know, come on down, send me an email. You can find me on Facebook at BillForDogCatcher, Facebook.com/BillForDogCatcher, or you can check us out always at PwCPolitics.com. Thank you very much.